Oh, I'm ready. Sorry, I didn't hear them. I thought you guys were going to sing to me. I needed a little bit of a wake-up call this morning. But no, I'm ready, guys. I barely slept. I don't usually sleep much the night before opening day. I probably got a couple hours in, and I've just been poring over numbers and thinking about all the different scenarios and possibilities the way this year could play out just as a fan. And, I think, whether you're a fan of the Marlins who are going to suck or a fan of the Dodgers who should win over 100 games, today's a special day. And I think for Rangers fans specifically, it's just awesome to have an opening day for, I think, a third straight year. I guess maybe some people would say 4. But for a third straight year where you go into the season with expectations of being able to compete. And I know it didn't work out last year. And not only did it not work out, it didn't work out anywhere close to what we expected. But last year, this time, we all thought, hey, this team should be a playoff team. And this year, today, as we get ready for 162, we think this team should be a playoff team. And I think having that sort of expectation after years of not having that with this ball club is still so much fun and makes the season beginning even that much more exciting.
Yeah, and I know that's the case in Dallas and in the Metroplex, who could use a shot of some good news right now in their sports landscape.
No kidding.
But it's a national perception. I just saw Bob Nightingale, the longtime USA Today baseball columnist. He put out his opening day projections and has the Rangers not just winning the AL West, but has them winning the American League and then beating the Phillies in the World Series and winning their second in 3 years. That's Bob Nightingale, who's a national writer. Is that too auspicious or optimistic, Jared, or is that something that you think? I was in Surprise, Arizona. I was standing there when Bruce Bochy, talked about the bar of expectations, and they don't shy away from it. They expect to be back playing for a world championship like they were 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, obviously accomplishing that is a lot easier said than done, but I don't think that is a crazy prediction. I mean, they won in 2023 when no one thought that, that was going to be the ending to their season. And their roster, I think, is better equipped this year. Now, will they perform, and perform in the big moments? I guess we'll wait and see. No, I don't think that's crazy. And the other thing is, you can make a case that the 4 best teams on paper going into the season are in the National League. Now, I don't know whether that's going to play out or not, but you could certainly make that argument. And I say that to say this, that the American League is wide open.
Yeah.
The AL West, is wide open. The AL Central, is going to be really competitive, but there's not that one team that scares you. And in the AL East, with the injuries the Yankees have dealt with, the lack of acquisition of pitching from the Orioles, and you look at the Rays, they're going to be good, but how good? And the Blue Jays just kind of seem like they've missed their boat. And, the Red Sox, to be honest with you guys, the team the Rangers are opening with, I kind of think they're the best team in the AL East. But whatever the case, there's not that one team where you're like, hey, the Rangers could be really good, but somehow they're going to have to take down this juggernaut. And maybe they are that team. Maybe the Rangers are going to be that team. Whatever the case, I think the AL is wide open. And so you could tell me, one of 5 or 6 teams would win the pennant. I would probably not be that surprised if it ended up playing out that way, and I think the Rangers are on that list.
100%. Jared Sandler is with us covering the Texas Rangers. You hear him and see him on the broadcast and doing a great job. So that's Bob Nightingale. Thinks the Rangers are winning the World Series. What we know the offense is going to be among the best in baseball. They're 1-9. They're going to score a lot of runs. But obviously the pitching staff becomes the question. They had a bad week of injuries there in Surprise. What is give our audience, and you're having seen them up close for the last month out in Arizona, what is the good, bad, and ugly of this pitching staff? What do you really like about it? What's concerning, and what downright scares you about this Texas pitching staff?
Yeah, I do think that they've got the depth to deal with this sort of thing, so long as they get a step forward from Jack Leiter. I think he is huge in weathering that storm. You know what you're going to get from Nathan Eovaldi. He's in the regular season. He's a really good borderline pitcher or borderline all-star pitcher, and then in the postseason he becomes an ace, right? But you got to get to the postseason first. Jacob deGrom, I think we know what we're going to get when he's on the mound. It's just a matter of how many innings they're going to allow him to go start to start. And then, you look at Tyler Mahle. I don't think Rangers fans are as familiar with how good he can be, but a couple years ago, Tyler Mahle was, thought of as an all-star caliber pitcher. And if he can get back to that form health-wise, then, he's going to be good. For now, Kumar Rocker is going to be in the rotation. He'll start the fifth game. And obviously the long-term upside for Kumar is incredibly exciting. I don't know how long he'll stand catcher Corbin's acquisition. The reason the Rangers acquired Corbin is just because they need someone who can eat innings. They need someone with, the conservative way in which they're going to handle DeGrom and Mahle and, perhaps Leiter as well. They need someone that can go out and give them 6-7 innings and help protect their bullpen. To me, Jack Leiter's the key. And, at times in spring, he looked really good. At times, he looked like a guy who's still got a lot of work to do. It's tough to know what spring training results mean for the regular season. But what I'll say is this. From 2023 to 2024, Jack Leiter took a big step forward, going from being a guy who struggled in Double-A to being the Triple-A pitcher of the year in the Pacific Coast League. That's a huge step forward, regardless of his big league results. Now it's time for him to get big league hitters out, and he doesn't need to be an all-star. He doesn't need to be, a guy that pitches to a low 3 ERA. But if he can give the Rangers 25 to 30 starts with an ERA in the high 3s or super low 4s, that to me is a big step in the right direction for Jack and would be really helpful for this team, especially considering the type of firepower they should have on offense.
Jared, I want to ask about the bats here, specifically two guys, young Wyatt Langford, obviously coming into second season. Expectations for him are high, I know that, but I just want to hear what you think about him coming out of, obviously, Gainesville and had a great rookie season. And two, the acquisition of Jock Peterson, right? You got about a decade difference there, but having those bats in this lineup, just want to hear about your opinion of those guys.
Yeah, guys, I when I first started in this job a little over 10 years ago, I probably was more prone to throwing around hyperbole, but this job hardens you and humbles you as well when you start making bold predictions. I don't make predictions like this very often, but feel free to hold me to this. I believe in the next 2 years, Wyatt Langford will be a top 5 MVP vote getter in the American League. I think he's that good. Yeah. And whether it's this year or next year, I think we're going to talk about Wyatt Langford as the best player in this team, the face of this franchise, the future. He is that special. His combination of power and speed, and I think those raw skills are important, but the IQ, just the understanding of what it takes to be a great player, and then the willingness to put in the work, he's got the total package. If he can stay healthy, he's special. And then Jock Peterson, it's interesting, guys. When you go into an off season in a lot of sports, you think, hey, this team needs to add, and then you fill in the blank with a position, right? They need to add a receiver. They need to add a first baseman. They need to add a big man, whatever it might be. I think the Rangers went into this offseason thinking more of specific skill sets they needed to add. They struggled hitting fastballs last year. They go out and they add 2 of the better fastball hitting hitters in baseball, Jake Berger and Jock Peterson. They struggled against righties last year, and they go out and they get one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, and I mean one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball against righties. The only reason Jock Peterson's not getting he's not someone who's going to face lefties a lot, or when he does, not someone who's going to have a ton of success. But gosh darn it, you look at the numbers, he's one of the 10 best hitters in Major League Baseball against righties. And so that's what they're getting in Jock Peterson. Now, are you going to have to pinch hit for him in the 8th inning when a team brings in a tough lefty with runners at 2nd and 3rd and you're down 2? Probably, yeah. And the Rangers have not been a big platoon team in recent years, but that's what you're going to have with Jock Peterson. But when righties are on the mound, you're going to feel really good about his ability to produce like a middle-of-the-order bat.
He is Jared Sandler. He is the TV and radio broadcaster for your Texas Rangers, more than a decade now. So here commonly on 105.3 The Fan up there in Dallas in the Metroplex. And it's funny because I didn't hear you say that in Surprise, but I went on the air from Surprise saying I think Wyatt Langford can be an MVP in the American League in the next 3 or 4 years. And that's the talent I saw. It just oozes. And that's a mouthful when you're playing on a team with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien and all these guys. He can become the face of the franchise. Last thing on the baseball side for me.
Can I add one, Wyatt? Because I don't want it to come off as like this homerific take.
Yeah.
I started to really believe in Wyatt Langford beyond all the excitement and the hype of him being such a high pick, not because of anything that was said by anyone in the Rangers organization, but it got to the point around June, before Wyatt took off in June, and then in July when he kind of reverted back and started struggling, when every series someone from an opposing team, be it a player, a coach, someone in the front office, would like go out of their way to talk about how good this guy is going to be. And it's easy to do that when a guy's just tearing the cover off the ball. But I remember, I'll give you one guy specifically, Jose Trevino, former Ranger. When he came to town with the Yankees, White Langford was coming off a really rough August. He was on the verge of winning the American League Player of the Month in September, but the Yankees came in the first week of September. He wasn't anywhere close to being that guy yet. And Jose was like, this guy is going to take over the league in the next couple years. And that was kind of, I hate to say it, that was not an unpopular sentiment. There were people who didn't have, the Homer glasses on from other organizations who had a similar take about Wyatt Langford. And when those people are taking time to share that sort of a sentiment about Wyatt, that's when someone like me, who's an idiot and doesn't know baseball the way these guys do, starts to really take it seriously.
I agree with you. And my opinion really was solidified on Wyatt. Seeing him play, obviously, and up close. But then hearing Bruce Bochy talk about him, he talks about him like one of his era players, right? The dirtbag, the guy just loves the game. He hustles out everything. He's just and he's kind of a Bruce Bochy type of guy from the 80s. And I love that. The talent with the old school mindset, that's hard to beat if you can stay healthy. Jared, last thing for me on the pitching side, the Jacob deGrom update for our audience. I mean, how did he look? What can you expect from him? I know they're going to be very careful with him. But, boy, if you can have him healthy come the fall, look out. And then who's going to close games for this Ranger team in the back end, 8th and 9th inning?
Yeah, so I'll start with deGrom. So he's going to start on Sunday. I don't know what necessarily led to the change from the initial plan of having him start the 5th game of the season in Cincinnati. Now, that was shared before the John Gray and Cody Bradford combo platter injury week that you referenced earlier. And so he's going to start Sunday. He'll start at home, which I think will be exciting for home fans. I wouldn't expect Jacob deGrom to give you 7 innings very often in the first half of the season. I wouldn't expect him to give you 6 innings every single time out. Because, it's like you mentioned, the goal is not just to have him in April and May. It's to have him in August, September, and then hopefully all throughout October. And, he's coming off the second Tommy John. I think they just want to be smart with him. What I'm curious about with deGrom is he has come out and said, hey, I don't need to live at 98, 99, 100 miles an hour. I can have success at 96, 97. And no doubt he can. He's won 2 Cy Youngs, averaging around 96, 96 and a half miles an hour with his fastball. On the flip side, there is a lot of data now that shows that with each mile an hour you add to your fastball, slugging percentage from opposing hitters really drops. And so I'm curious how long he holds to that. He does have the ability to get up to 101, and I'm sure he'll use it as needed. But I'm just curious how he utilizes his fastball and how he varies his velocity early on. And then, with the back end of the bullpen, I think they'll figure out the 8th inning. It might be a platoon. Chris Martin has been so good in the 8th inning in recent years, pitching with the Braves and with the Red Sox. Robert Garcia is a guy who I think profiles as a high-leverage back-end type of talent from the left side. But I think the guy who's going to be closing out games to start the year is Luke Jackson. And, kind of full circle, Jackson came up with the Rangers. They ended up trading him. He was one of the last of that young group of pitching prospects about a decade ago that they ended up trading. He found success with the Braves. He started throwing harder, and then all of a sudden he started adding this devastating slider and became a slider-first pitcher. He throws his slider more than he throws his fastball. But I think Luke Jackson is going to be the team's closer to start the year. I would not be surprised if Emiliano Teodo ends up as the team's closer, not because of Luke Jackson, but just because of how good Teodo is, even though he's going to start the season in AAA.
Yeah, we'll get to see him out at Round Rock. A very loaded Round Rock team, by the way, will open their year in Tacoma this week. Yeah, Tacoma this weekend, and then home opener on Tuesday night out at Dell Diamond, and we will certainly have a full preview of that. Jared, thanks so much, my man. That was great. Our Austin Ranger fans got to get ready for Major League Baseball and opening day with that. That was outstanding. And can you put to bed the Dallas rumors this morning, or Cleveland rumors that Dak Prescott's on his way to the Browns? Can you throw some water on that conversation? I don't know where that came from in Cleveland, but Dak Prescott to Cleveland. I love that.
Yeah, my goodness. And first of all, guys, I much love to all our listeners in Austin and really all throughout Texas. We know not everyone can make an easy drive to come to ball games, but we know that there are Rangers fans supporting throughout the state and beyond. So it's always great getting to talk to Rangers fans all over. And I wouldn't put anything past this organization. Jerry Jones getting older by the day. He's becoming more senile by the day. I mean, what are they going to trade for Deshaun Watson? Does Jerry Jones think that this is like 8 years ago when Deshaun Watson was actually good? I don't know what the massage parlor scene is like in Dallas, but I can't imagine that Deshaun Watson would be a good fit here. That would be so bizarre. I'm not a guy who believes that Dak Prescott at this point with his injury-ravaged body is the guy who's going to get the Cowboys over the hump. But I don't know that trading him. I'll say this: I don't have the confidence that if the Cowboys were to make any kind of a significant trade, that would be the right trade. Now, better the Cowboys' brain trust than Nico Harrison, right? I guess anything's better, and maybe that's their thought process: is it can't be worse than the Luka trade, which is still heartbreaking and will be heartbreaking for the next 30 years probably. But I can't imagine that's going to happen, especially with the money. There's no way that Dak Prescott's getting moved, especially not to the Browns.